Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. We've got some good stuff today. Stay tuned. Hi guys, if you are looking for some inspiration, maybe some things you can add to your meal plan this week, you've come to the right place. I've got some delicious, easy stuff to show you that is sure to fill your belly, and it's not going to be too hard on the pocketbook either. We can all take that win when we can get it. All right, you guys, let's jump on into these recipes. If you guessed Mexican by looking at all these ingredients, you are right. We are having loaded nachos tonight. I have been hungry for those for a good while now, and we're just getting around to making them. So we've got our chips, and then I have this big warehouse size of the gourmet nacho cheese by Rico's. This is like $10, I think, for just the small regular size can. It's like 3, almost 4. So it's much more cost effective to buy this great big one and just to split it up and put it in the freezer. So I'll use what we need tonight. I'll put the rest into a couple different freezer bags, put it in the freezer, and it'll be perfect to pull out the next time. I've even done this in my crock pot, like for a big event, and frozen the leftovers, and it works out perfectly every single time. I'm gonna make some refried beans for our nachos, and we can just layer on all this goodness. Got some chopped green onions. This is another thing. I can chop up my green onions and they stay, I feel like, fresher longer like this. So I've had these for probably a couple weeks now. Just chop them up and they just seem to stay fresher longer. Avocados, I'm getting ready to make some guacamole. So we have our lime, our pepper, a few little tomatoes left, and onions, some cilantro and garlic. And we're just gonna have some yummy loaded nachos. I'm gonna brown up a pound of ground beef. It's gonna be so good. So I'm gonna get started on making my guacamole. I probably don't ever make guacamole exactly alike twice, but I use pretty much the same thing every time. I use salt and pepper, chili powder and cumin, and then either fresh garlic or garlic powder, or sometimes both. I used to buy the envelope years ago that had all the spices in it for a batch of guacamole, but I quit buying that because I have all basically the same thing, all of that in my spice cabinet. So I just season it up according to my heart, however I'm feeling in the moment. Get it all seasoned up. I do like lots of onion, and I like a red onion, but like I said, if I don't have that, I don't use it. I use whatever I have. And sometimes if I don't have tomato, I'll put in some salsa, or I'll put in some Rotel type tomato, something out of my pantry. I just use what I have and make a yummy guacamole. Lime or lemon, either one works. And honestly, I don't know why I don't make guacamole more. It is so good. We love it. So I'm going to keep on working on this here. I love how fresh and bright all these colors are. And it actually tastes the same way. Very fresh and bright. We love cilantro around here, so I try not to ever make guacamole unless I have that. Got it all stirred together here, and this will go in the fridge until time for dinner. I have my 1 pound of ground beef browning up here on the stove, and I'm going to go ahead and move to my refried beans. Just using a can of refried beans, and I like to put in bacon grease. That is a trick that my daughter-in-law Abigail taught me. She said that's what she does with hers. I've heard other people put cheese, maybe some hot sauce, or some diced onion, sour cream. I just use some bacon grease, and here is some from bacon that was fried up that morning. And I'm just going to put in about a teaspoon. Stir that in there, and I'm telling you, it adds such amazing flavor to just a can of regular old refried beans. Now that my ground beef has been fried up and drained, I'm just going to season it up with plenty of salt. I'm going to add some garlic powder and just a little bit of chili powder. I don't want it seasoned up to taste like taco meat. I just want a little bit of seasoning on there. Sometimes when I make loaded nachos, I just put some salt and I don't do any extra seasoning. It just depends on how I'm feeling, but tonight it was just a little bit of garlic powder and chili powder to season that up a little bit. Now moving on to this big old can of nacho cheese sauce. We make nachos a lot of different ways around here with a lot of different kinds of cheeses, just kind of whatever we're in the mood for. I was wanting this specific kind of cheese, so that's why I went this route. For some reason, I just thought that sounded good. It's kind of the type of cheese that you get when you're out and about, say at, the ballpark or the fair or something like that. So I thought, okay, this one's the one I want this time around. So I'm just scooping out the amount that I want for tonight's dinner with a little left over because I know we're going to probably have some of these toppings left over, maybe to eat on for lunch the next day. So I'm getting out the amount I want, and then I'm going to get all the rest of this packaged up. And here we have it. We have 2 quart-sized bags to the brim and then a pretty good sized bowl there of nacho cheese. And if I have any of that left that we don't eat, I will put that in the freezer as well, just in like a smaller portion, of course. There's my ground beef all done. Here are my refried beans all done. And for my nacho cheese, I just heated that in the microwave. Could not get easier than that. And now it's time to start building these nachos. I have out a couple different kinds of salsa, a hot sauce, and then just lots of toppings here, things that we like on our nachos. And we'll just start building these things. I'm telling you, my eyes are definitely bigger than my stomach. I could not finish this big old plate of nachos. I guess I was so excited about it. I've been really wanting to have these for a couple of weeks, and I just made way too many. It was so good. We loved it and definitely had plenty of leftovers. We had the meat, we had refried beans and cheese. We had everything left over that we had for lunch the next day. These were really so good. Ham and beans in the crock pot. I've got a mix of the white beans and the pinto beans, and I'm adding in 3 cups of diced ham here. Actually, I didn't add in the whole entire thing, but I cooked these beans one day so we could eat them the next day because I like to cook my beans ahead if I can. I don't always do it, but I just think they taste better the second day and the broth gets thicker, and so I added my ham in and let these get warm again. And then I had some Mexican cornbread here to serve these beans over. Had some jalapenos in there, so delicious. Look at these beans. Oh, it just hit the spot. Another thing that I've been wanting for a while and just hadn't had the opportunity to make. So this is kind of our soup for the week, I guess you would say. I didn't make another single thing to go along with this. It was just ham and beans and cornbread for a simple supper this night. We like to doctor ours up with some onion, of course, sometimes some peppers. It just depends on what we have, sometimes some chow chow. But tonight I just diced my onion up over the top And then I had a jar of these Vidalia pickled onions. I had never had anything like this before, pickled Vidalia onion strips. So those were really good. I really like those. So I served those over the top. Like I said, this was just a very easy, simple supper tonight. Been a little bit under the weather, and so something like this just hits the spot when you're not feeling your best. I am so excited to show you guys this meal. This was so good. I was skeptical, I wasn't sure, but I was curious, and James thought it sounded really good. So we are giving it a try. Yes, that is ground beef and pineapple. Ground beef and pineapple. That is where we're going with this. All right, these are called pineapple meatballs. I think it's actually teriyaki pineapple meatballs. So you can see here I am draining my crushed pineapple into a bowl. I want to use some of the crushed pineapple and I want some of the reserved juice. So I'm draining that off into my ground beef. I am adding a couple of cloves of garlic. I am going to add several other ingredients here. I'm going to tell you about those as we go along. And of course, always know to look into the description box below. If there is an exact recipe, that is where you will find it. All right, in goes the green onions. And now, guess what I just added in? Graham crackers. I only needed a fourth a cup of panko breadcrumbs, and I didn't have it. So I was like, you know what, graham crackers, I think this is going to work. And it did work. It's a binder. That's all it is. And so I was like, I could do saltines. And I'm like, why not do graham crackers? Because it's already got a sweet component. It worked, you guys. Of course, you couldn't taste it. You had no idea they were in there, but it worked as a binder. Okay, like I said, I have all the ingredients and the whole recipe listed below, but there's not a whole lot of ingredients in this. Some ginger, some garlic, salt, pepper, your binder, which was the panko, which I used the graham crackers, and then a fourth a cup of the pineapple, crushed pineapple drained. So you mix that all together. It did call for fresh ginger, but I did not have fresh. So I just looked it up, Googled it, and found out how much to use. And it was honestly like a 1/16 of a teaspoon, very little amount of ground ginger. But I got all of that in there and incorporated. And then you just want to make about this size, golf ball size or a little smaller, of the meatballs. I ended up getting 20 out of mine. The recipe said 21, but I got 20, so I guess I made them just a little bit bigger. So I'm going to get these all rolled out and on the pan. You bake these in a 500-degree oven for 15 minutes, and they were done. They were screaming hot and done, so they baked up really quick. And then you make this fabulous sauce to go on top, and we're going to move into that just after this. You use a half a cup of reduced sodium soy sauce. If you have the aminos, coconut aminos, or whatever other kind you have, that works fine. It's a third cup water. It is a fourth cup of that reserved pineapple juice, a fourth a cup of brown sugar, 2 more garlic cloves, and about a half a teaspoon of fresh ginger. Again, that equivalent for the dry is much less, just a few shakes in there because the dry is so much more concentrated, of course, so you're going to get a heavier flavor out of that. And then once this is cooked to all the sugar is completely dissolved on your stove top, you make just a small slurry with about a tablespoon of cornstarch and about a tablespoon of water, and that will thicken this to go over those meatballs. If I were to change anything about this recipe, I may double the sauce. It was plenty as it was, but to serve over rice, I think having extra sauce would be great. So make a mental note, at least I did. If you want more sauce, double the recipe. I think that's what I will do the next time for sure. Okay, so there goes the slurry, and the meatballs are out of the oven. Listen at that sizzle. I love that cooking them on 500 only took them 15 minutes, and that was completely accurate, and they were done. I removed the meatballs from the parchment paper, and look at this super shiny, thick sauce. Yes. Oh, this really was flavorful, very delicious. So this is the teriyaki portion of this recipe. So you just want to get your meatballs completely coated with all of this sauce. And if you're curious, like I was curious, can you taste the pineapple? No, you cannot taste the pineapple. In my opinion, if I were to taste this blindly, I would have never detected pineapple. What the pineapple does, it just adds a moisture and it adds sweetness to make this sort of like a teriyaki, which is kind of a little bit sweet, taste and flavor in the meatballs, not just in the sauce. And so I definitely highly recommend this. Highly recommend this. This was very, very good. It was quick. That was another neat thing about it. But yeah, we really, really loved this. It was kind of an Asian flair. Of course, with the teriyaki, it was made from scratch. I liked that portion about it. And I just had some jasmine rice cooked up in my rice cooker, which I served these over and just steamed up a bag of microwavable, steamable broccoli. This was a very quick and easy meal, one that we definitely will have again. It was different, it was delicious. Definitely encourage you to try this one. And of course, I like making things for my kids. We haven't had family night in a couple weeks due to sickness and schedules and whatnot, so I'm missing the family night. And I know you guys always comment you enjoy the family night portions of the video. So I think I'll make this for them one of these times. I think they would love it. Overall, this was a A+. Super, super enjoyed this recipe. Of course, look below for the whole entire recipe. I have really enjoyed having a soup going each week. I've been trying to do that maybe on Mondays if it works out, and it has for the most part. But this week we actually had a couple. So I have a broth here on my stove, and it is full of turkey. James actually stopped at Kroger and brought home some fried chicken, and they had a turkey breast in the case there where the fried chicken was, and he thought that looked so good he brought that home too. So I just diced up some of that turkey, and I've got some broth going here simmering on the stove. Like I said, I've just been a bit under the weather, and I had eaten several cans of Campbell's chicken noodle soup because that's what sounded good. And so I thought, you know what, let's do some turkey noodle soup, or turkey and noodles. I'm using these Reams frozen noodles. If you have not purchased these, you've got to keep these in your freezer for times just like this. My parents are homemade noodle makers. My mom and dad both can make some of the best homemade noodles, but it is a rare occasion that I make noodles from scratch. But these Reams, I mean, it's as close to homemade as you can get. Look at this, with those chunks of turkey in there, the delicious broth. I decided to thicken it a little by adding a can of cream of chicken soup. Of course, plenty of pepper in there. I've got some parsley flakes. This was just what the doctor ordered. This was a bump up from the Campbell's, although they were delicious, but there's something about chicken soup, or turkey noodle soup in this case, that just hits the spot when you're not feeling the best. So this night was a bowl of turkey and noodles, and I had a chicken wing to go along with it and a slice of the turkey. And James had just about the same. He had I think a chicken thigh and a slice or two of that turkey. It was very good. Of course, we had leftovers for the next day, which also works well when you're not feeling 100% to be able to cook once and eat twice. I like that. All right, you guys, that wraps up this week's video. I would really, really love it if you enjoyed this for you to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, it's free. Just hit the subscribe button. If you want to be notified when I post, hit the little red notification bell. And every time I'm in the kitchen, you can be here with me. All right, you guys, I'll see you the next time. Good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Bye.